AMD just dropped a bombshell of a quarter. But, for investors, the real story here isn't just the big revenue number. No, it's the absolutely massive AI deals. It's a server business that's roaring back to life, and it's a fundamental shift in what drives this company's growth. So over the next few minutes, we're going to cut through the noise and break down exactly what this quarter's data tells us about AMD's future.
All right, let's get right into it. The thesis is simple and direct. AMD's Q3 results are signaling a brand new phase of explosive AI-driven growth. And look, this wasn't just another strong quarter. From an investor's point of view, this was a major strategic turning point. And the data? Well, the data is just incredibly compelling. So let's start with the big one, the headline number that got everyone talking. A record $9.2 billion in a single quarter. I mean, that figure alone tells you there's a massive surge in demand happening right now across their entire portfolio. But here's what's even more impressive. It's the speed of it all. We're talking about a staggering 36% growth year over year. That's the kind of acceleration that really, truly changes the whole story around a company. It's not just growth, it's a breakout. And then there's this number. This one, right here, could define the future. 6 gigawatts. Now, what is that? That's the sheer scale of the landmark GPU deal they just signed with OpenAI. You can't get a bigger vote of confidence than that. It's the most important name in AI saying yes, AMD's hardware and software is ready for the big leagues. And here's the crucial part for any serious investor. These aren't just flashy headlines, right? These numbers are backed by incredibly solid financial performance across the entire business. So let's get into the nitty-gritty and unpack the financials that prove this is a real, fundamental shift. You know, what's really telling when you look at the P&L is just how consistent this growth is. Yeah, you've got that 36% jump in revenue to over $9.2 billion, but look deeper. Non-GAAP operating income, that shot up 30% to $2.2 billion. And non-GAAP earnings per share, also up 30%. This isn't just about selling more stuff. This is profitable, high-quality growth. Okay, so where is all this coming from? Let's break it down by segment. The data center business is leading the charge with a record $4.3 billion. Now, it's followed closely by a resurgent client and gaming segment at $4 billion, which is great to see, but for us as investors, the strategic focus has to be on the data center. That is the engine, and believe me, it is firing on all cylinders now. And if you want a sign of pure financial health, look no further. A record $1.5 billion in free cash flow in one quarter. For any investor, this is a beautiful number. It signals discipline, it signals execution, and it gives the company just immense firepower to pour back into R&D and drive that future growth. All right, let's dive into the heart of it all. The real growth story here, the data center. This is where AMD's big AI dream is turning into a balance sheet reality. And honestly, the list of customer wins tells you everything you need to know. I mean, it is all about who is buying your chips. And just look at this roster. You've got OpenAI deploying a massive 6 gigawatts. You have Oracle building their first public Helios AI supercluster on AMD tech. The U.S. Department of Energy is tapping them for the country's first AI factory. Cisco and G42 are building a huge AI cluster in the UAE. These aren't just sales, these are deep strategic partnerships at the absolute cutting edge of AI. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. On the earnings call, CEO Dr. Lisa Su laid it out in plain English. She said, and I'm quoting here, "We expect this partnership has the potential to generate well over $100 billion in revenue over the next few years." Let that sink in. $100 billion. That is a jaw-dropping long-term outlook coming straight from the top. You know, beyond the numbers and the big deals, you have to listen carefully to what management emphasizes on these calls. It gives you so much context. In this quarter, there were 2 key observations that should be on every single investor's radar. So, the first thing is this really powerful ripple effect from the AI boom. You'd think with all the focus on AI GPUs, the core server CPU business would just kind of hold steady, right? Nope. It's actually seeing a massive resurgence, and it's being driven by AI. And Dr. Su explained exactly why. See, as all these AI models get put to work, they create a huge need for just regular old compute power to manage the data and run the apps. She said, many customers are now planning substantially larger CPU buildouts, serving as a powerful new catalyst for our server business. That's a huge, durable secondary tailwind for their whole EPYC processor line. Now for the second key observation, and this one tackles the biggest question investors have always had about AMD, the software. While the earnings call gave us some pretty clear evidence that their open software platform, ROXM, which is their big answer to NVIDIA's CUDA, is finally getting some serious traction in the ecosystem. And the proof is right there in the pudding, with validation from the developer community itself. Dr. Su pointed out that huge AI players like Hugging Face are now contributing directly to the ROCm code. Now that, my friends, is a game changer. This isn't just AMD building software on an island anymore. This is the open source community building with them. That's how you create a real, viable, competitive ecosystem. So Q3 was obviously phenomenal, but as we all know, investing is a forward-looking game. So what does the company's own guidance and their product roadmap tell us about what's coming next? Well, the immediate outlook for Q4 looks really solid. They're guiding for revenue around $9.6 billion. That's another quarter of roughly 25% growth year over year, and with non-GAAP gross margins expanding to a very healthy 54.5%. So yeah, the momentum is absolutely continuing through the end of the year. And this just rolls right into 2026, which looks absolutely packed with catalysts. I mean, look at this. Early in the year, the Lux AI supercomputer goes online. In the back half of the year, that monumental OpenAI deployment kicks off. In Q3, Oracle's Helios deployment starts up. And on top of all that, we're getting the launch of their next-gen MI400 GPUs and the new 2nm Venice EPYC CPUs. This is just a clear, visible pipeline of major growth drivers for investors to watch. Okay, let's wrap this all up. After digging through the earnings report, the slides, and listening to the call, what are the absolute must-know takeaways for an investor looking at AMD today? For me, it boils down to 4 critical points. First, the financials are screaming that a major growth inflection point is happening right now. Second, data center AI is, without a doubt, the #1 growth engine, and it's been validated by these mega deals with industry titans. Third, their core server CPU business now has a powerful new tailwind from AI, creating 2 growth engines in one. And finally, that 2026 roadmap gives us a clear, strong line of sight into future growth. And all of this leads to the new fundamental question for the market. With this kind of customer momentum, with the software stack that's clearly being validated, and with a locked-in roadmap, the question is no longer if AMD can compete in AI. The real question now is, has it just solidified its position as a primary, indispensable engine of the entire AI revolution? That's the thesis that I think investors are grappling with right now.